So what happens when we bring this together, okay? Guys, secondary to poor sleep and low oxygen, the brain is physically changing. And I know we cannot see it like I can see your face or your arm or your legs, okay? But I can tell you that science is telling me, and science is telling people who are much smarter and much better trained than I will ever be, the brain is physically changing. Some studies dug deeper, and they found that poor sleep quality is associated with attention dysregulation, while low blood oxygen is related to deficits in executive function. What does this boil down to? It's all bad. Across a range of sleep quality issues, including those with concurrent respiratory issues, high intelligence was a protective factor. High intelligence is often and almost always a protective factor, but that doesn't mean that these individuals are reaching their cognitive potential. Research that focused primarily on obstructive sleep apnea has demonstrated that with effective intervention, we can mitigate this. And this just isn't my work of a case of 1 or 2, which we'll get to. This is research with brain scans. What's the bigger picture? I can't get over it, guys. Again, the brain physically changes. And I can be the annoying last speaker at the end of today, a very long day, who just kept saying the brain physically changes, the brain physically changes. And if you guys walk away with, she kind of made me suffocate and the brain physically changes, I've done a really good job, okay? So there's a negative interplay between sleep dysfunction and airway dysfunction that is far-reaching. It includes behavioral and psychiatric consequences, primary cognitive issues, and global neurocognitive, as well as global neurocognitive issues. The malignant combination of these factors is the ultimate recipe for struggling with learning, academic difficulties, daily living skills, underperformance across professional settings, increased chronicity and severity of psychiatric symptoms, and the interplay of these issues. We're not just going to get one thing. It's kind of playing against each other for life until we mitigate these problems. What is mind-blowing, again, is that we're having a professional development about this. I have very, very distinct memories of being in very early science classes and the teacher reading from, we'll say, like a 4th grade science textbook, telling us that sleep was important. And without oxygen, I would die. But when I ask folks about sleep, everyone is shocked. Some people are appalled, and there's phones under the table and we're texting loved ones that I'm simply not the doctor for them. So I'm going to ask, and I'll continue to ask, and I'm going to start to integrate what the research mentions when I'm doing my intake interviews. And I'm going to do that more and more and more. And if people decide I'm not the neuropsychologist for them, that is totally fine. And if your patients and your clients decide that you guys are not the provider for them, accept the loss. And so what does this mean for you? And so if I have buy-in today, I'm telling you to ask and re-ask about sleep, about respiration problems, and the combination. And when a family or an individual is like, it's fine, like, why are you asking about this? Then you need to observe. And when they tell you, I don't think you get such good sleep, you still need to observe. Then you need to ask a 3rd time. You need to review the data, and you need to integrate the data, not just, oh, it's bad sleep. You have to put the pieces together. You have to. And now when we're armed with what we've learned today, and what you'll continue to learn now that you guys kind of know like a nugget about this, you need to come up with a compelling justification to explain, why is this a critical major health concern? Why does this require specialized and comprehensive attention and intervention? And so we're going to come to our cases. And so the first case is a little guy named Joey, and this happened a number of years ago. Joey's probably about 10 or 11 now. And this case really pulls on my heartstrings. So Joey was a chair thrower, and my supervisor at the time said, if anybody's going to test this kid, it's going to be you. And so the family came in with severe emotional behavioral dysfunction concerns, academic failure, ADHD. So Joey was a twin. He was likely twin B, right? So what does that mean? That means he was getting less of the nutrients in utero compared to twin A. Both twins had micro-premature birth, so they were born between 25 and 26 weeks of gestation. There was respiratory issues, there's an assortment of allergies, and I just found a typo. It does not say there were major sleep issues, okay? So this little guy came in, he was verbally combative, he was physically aggressive. And when we see somebody who's physically aggressive, we expect them to have a fast response time because they're all juiced up. But his response time had a really slow quality about it, which is odd and like it's disjointing. He had a complete lack of inhibitory control. He sounded like he was underwater when he was talking. His gross motor gait, interestingly, was largely intact. He had fine, poor motor control. It was as if like the pencil was gonna slip out of his hand, like it was like melting, wild. He refused any snacks that I offered, and like any prizes, like there was just nothing that was gonna make this little guy happy. And we needed to, I did the battery, but I had to abbreviate it to accommodate like taming a tiger, okay? And so what are the results? Do we think little Joey had great results? It's like, is he my 130 IQ kid? No, he's within like this, he's at 75. He's almost 2 standard deviations below the mean. He's about the 5th percentile. And so I drew the short straw because I evaluated him. I have to do the feedback. And so his verbal cognitive function, his nonverbal cognitive function, and his language and his foundational academics are consistently within approximately the 5th percentile. We didn't go digging deeper because once I start to see this profile, the pattern is there. It's all going to be low, okay? And I am going to be the person that has to provide the family with feedback that it's time to think about a special needs trust. Twin A might have to take care of twin B for the rest of her life. We have to think about long-term care. And while Joey might be able to hold down a job, right? And I know he's only 5, but if I don't deliver this message to families, there's the potential they're going to be unprepared. And I can tell a family over and over again, I hope to God that I am wrong. I hope to dance at your child's wedding, and I hope you tell me to go F myself when he graduates medical school. But on the chance I'm not, on the slim chance that I am, that maybe I'm a little bit right, on that 1% chance I'm right, I want you to have stuff in place so that you can put your head on your pillow at night and you can sleep knowing your child is cared for. And so in between the evaluation and the feedback, there was about a 3-week lag. And wildly, a medical professional in this child's pediatrician's office recognized the combination of these issues, and an MRI was done. And there were major cranial facial blockages that were causing disrupted sleep and disrupted breathing. And this child required a pretty significant surgery, and he needed a shunt to drain all of the fluid. And in 3 weeks, by the time he came back to me, this emergency surgery was done, and he was unrecognizable. He slept, he ate, he looked healthy, he was well behaved, his speech was cleaned up, and he immediately started to learn at the same rate that his sister did. And so he had a lot of catching up to do, but the change was there. His potential was unlocked. And so the parent said to me, well, what do I do with your report? You worked so hard on it. And I told her to shred it.